Deal or no deal? President Trump today making a major announcement with the United Kingdom saying that the U.S. and the U.K. have agreed on the framework of a substantial trade deal. That said, we should note it is not quite a fully fleshed out deal exactly, at least not yet. It is quite light on specifics, with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer saying that the details need to be ironed out. According to U.S. and U.K. officials who previewed the deal for CNN, it leaves in place the existing 10% universal tariffs that Trump placed on virtually all goods coming into the U.S. Still, apparently what has been negotiated creates something of a concrete pathway to a broader trade pact, which could offer some relief from these high tariffs threatening serious damage to the U.S. and global economies. The New York Times White House correspondent Maggie Haberman's in town. We're always lucky to have her when she's here. Thanks for joining us, Max. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Trump has one trade deal done-ish. He loves to announce things. He still has dozens and dozens more deals left to get done. Today, he said he's working on 3 of them right now. What sort of headspace is he in? How much pressure did he feel like he needed? How much pressure did he feel to make this call and announce something, given the fact that they've been saying for more than a week that they're right there about to announce something?
Look, in terms of headspace, he's very happy with what they put out today. But it is notable, as you said, it has been a while since the pause went into effect and they were talking about trade deals coming quickly. The big question is going to be the China talks this weekend. But they are feeling as if this is a signal to other countries that there will be relief for them on tariffs if they forge some kind of a deal. This was low-hanging fruit. This was, I would say, actually something the Biden administration could have had in terms of a trade deal with the UK, and they just didn't want to for a variety of reasons. The UK has been eager for a deal, too. There is not a trade deficit with the UK. It says a trade surplus. So it's a little different than the other countries in question here. But this is good news for the administration as they are trying to find a path to lower some of these tariffs on other countries.
Today in the Oval Office, the British ambassador to the U.S. injected some British humor, understated, into the announcement. Take a listen.
Thank you very much indeed also for that very typical 11th hour intervention by you with your phone call to the President, demanding even more out of this deal than any of us expected. So thank you for that. The Prime Minister was delighted, obviously, to take that call late at night.
You know, you really can say anything if you have a classy British accent, I suppose. British Ambassador to the U.S., Peter Mandelson, joins us now. Mr. Ambassador.
But the point about the phone call was that he was interrupting the Arsenal game, that the Prime Minister is an ardent fan, and he was with friends looking at this crucial game, which I'm afraid they lost. And then the President comes on and says, hey, how about doing a little bit more in this trade deal?
Well, you know, and I'm sure President Trump loved it because he got more out of the deal than he would have gotten otherwise, right?
He didn't get everything he wanted. Got a bit more.
A bit more. So Trump's tariffs have been somewhat unpredictable in nature. Are you and the Prime Minister confident that it will continue relatively smooth sailing until there's actually a final deal signed?
I think we are quite confident. I mean, it is a deal. It is an agreement. It's one which, frankly, a lot of American farmers and manufacturers will gain quite a lot from. Nothing wrong with that. But we will also gain in Britain. So it's a fair deal. It was started off in life as a sort of fairly tactical response to Liberation Day, the president's tariffs. But then it built into a more substantial deal. And I think that what we have now is a foundation, first of all, for doing more and creating even more market access as these talks go on, but also, I hope, opening the door to a longer-term technology partnership between the United States and the UK.
J.P. Morgan said that the scope of this proposed deal appears limited as of now because U.S. tariffs on the UK are expected to remain higher than they were before Trump's announcement on April 2nd. And the economic benefit to the UK will be small. Are you worried about that at all?
No, I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with JP Morgan? Okay.
I mean, if you look at the sectoral tariffs on autos, steel, aerospace, in time, pharma, you know, they've been brought right down for Britain. And that's really important. You know, we had a big car company, Jaguar Land Rover, that was facing, by next week, huge layoffs of the workforce in the West Midlands in Britain. And this deal has saved those jobs. So that's a pretty big achievement in my view, and I'm very pleased that the president has signed off on it.
I have a Land Rover, you'll be happy to hear.
Good.
Trade deals take a long
You can
time.
replace it and get a newer version.
Well, they don't. Well, we can talk about that later. Trade deals take a long time, sometimes fully months, sometimes to fully hash out. Maybe sometimes even years. How long do you think it's going to take to formalize this one?
Look, what's agreed is not going to change. It's not going to fall away. Nobody's
needs
going
to be
step
fleshed
back.
out? I mean-
no. The point about it is this: that the sectoral deals will stick, come what may. Where I think we have a lot of potential is in further negotiating liberalisation of trade, reducing or eliminating many tariff lines. Now, we're very ambitious on that in Britain, possibly even more ambitious than the US side, I don't know, but that's be the subject of a negotiation. We think there are huge opportunities for business, for employment, for economic growth. We want to make both our economies great again in both the United States and the UK, and we can do that by liberalising more trade as long as it's balanced, as long as there's a sort of equal benefit on both sides. The problem with trade at the moment internationally, especially with China, is that they produce in vast quantities of goods and then just expect the rest of the world to sort of suck it up. And that's terribly imbalanced. Now, that's not the case between Britain and the United States. So we start from a good foundation, but we can build on it and liberalize further.
How is the relationship between the Trump administration and the Starmer administration? And I ask that because obviously the Liberal Party is more similar to the Democratic Party in this country. It's no secret that Nigel Farage and other more conservative figures in the UK are Trump fans. Obviously, your Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has had some impolitic things to say about President Trump, calling him a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathizing sociopath back in 2018.
I know, but everyone went in for this sort of hyperventilation in the past about Mr. Trump. I did too. You know, I'm afraid it comes with the turf, but we've all moved on, I'm glad to say. Look, Keir Starmer and President Trump are not cut from the same cloth.
Right.
Politically, they're not. However, what's more important than that is that our national interests overlap and converge very considerably in the way we see the world and we see the threats, but the challenges that we've got to address. But also at a personal level, they get along.
Yeah.
I mean, they talk to each other very straightforwardly, very naturally. You know, I don't know whether they would go down to the pub or go on holiday together or whatever.
Well, Trump doesn't drink, but I take your point.
Well, he can have a lemonade. But I just think that when they're talking about policies and serious matters in the world, they do see eye to eye. And that's what's important.
President Trump announcing a new trade deal with the United Kingdom today. Trump calling it a great deal for both nations. And it's one the White House says will bring millions, or billions to American companies. Details do remain scarce, and that is because there's still a lot of details to be worked out here. CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich with us now from New York. All right, what's in this deal, or should we say the framework of a deal, Vanessa?
Yeah, one deal or one framework down, over 100 to go. But this is a deal that was worked out with a key ally of ours, the United Kingdom. This is a country that the U.S. actually has a trade surplus with, meaning that the U.K. buys more from us than we get from them. But the president really in the Oval Office was promising that there was more to come, that this was just the beginning. Listen to what he said earlier today.
Today's agreement with the UK is the first in a series of agreements on trade that my administration has been negotiating over the past 4 weeks. With this deal, the UK joins the United States in affirming that reciprocity and fairness is an essential and vital principle of international trade. The deal includes billions of dollars of increased market access for American exports.
And so more to come on this deal with the UK, but he's also saying more deals to come in general with other countries. But specifically in this deal, here's what we know so far. There's about $5 billion in market opportunity for farmers and rancher producers, so much Much so that the UK is now agreeing to buy beef from the United States, something that they have not done previously. This is critical because farmers are losing a lot of money because China is not buying our soybeans right now because of those high tariffs. Also, the first 100,000 cars that come into the United States from the UK only getting a 10% tariff, not that 25% tariff. And then the US and the UK is now creating a sort of trade union for steel and aluminum where those items will be tariff-free. And then Rolls-Royce engines and other plane parts coming into the U.S. will not have tariffs on them. But Brianna, this is important because this is a framework that maybe other countries can look to, trying to understand what the president is looking for in these deals. As we know, the countdown is on to when that 90-day pause on those higher reciprocal tariffs run out. Other countries are probably watching this and starting to think about what they may be able to negotiate with the United States to make sure that they stave off those higher reciprocal tariffs that are set to go back into effect in July. Brianna?
Yeah, as you said, the clock is ticking here. Vanessa Yurkevich, thank you very much.